Sounds crazy, but what I'm looking for in song research these days is the shape of the song. I noticed that there's quite a bit of like lyrical singer-songwriter style songs that have a similar like bass drum motif where it's basically going boom tap boom tap boom, and the bass is a half note and it's going doom 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 doom, and I just think it's quite remarkable, like the number of songs that have this effect, and that could be just like a template style thing that corporate likes to do. But if you think about the bands like the Eagles and all these others who are kind of that vein, and I'm talking about old style songs. I'm not talking about the new garbage that they're putting out and calling songs. I'm talking about actual song structure, and so there's actually a way to um, you know visualize this template that these other instruments they go onto. And once you have this basic structure of, that framework, you can kind of see how you could easily just put a melody onto that, and then the melody is going to give you an idea of chords, and that's how you can have like a conversation as well. So so basically the breakdown is something like this: you have that shuffle, that little beat in mind with the bass. And then you have a lyrical topic. Okay, and then the next thing you have is a melody, because the melody tells you, the lyrics tell you the melody. So, you could obviously come with a melody first, but it's trickier. It's like that's more of a classical thing to do. Unless you were, really going after that sort of singer-songwriter stuff. But so then the next thing from the melody, you have to work with the chord to tell you. The chord is like a production piece. It's like a tool. You're getting almost to arrangement and almost to production and almost to mixing. You have a chord. And the chord is a way to create a sense of interest to the melody, but also it's another conversation that's occurring so that it stays stimulating, so that it's a lot more interesting than this speech. But so you have all these pieces, and the rhythm is already there because you're developing this this from this core structure of the bass and the drum, and then you're adding the lyrical stuff, then you're adding the melodic stuff, then you're coming up with the chord, because you have to have a way to keep that melody that's going to stay pretty similar. You have to have it go in and out of those chords to make it more interesting, and you have to have a overarching discussion that has to have a conclusion. So you have to have one segment that's saying one thing, another segment that's saying some kind of counter or amplification to that, and another section that's reframing back to this other part, and then your big conclusion. This is just an idea of the analysis that I've been listening to a lot of those kinds of songs, whether it's country, rock, or this kind of 70s style vibe. They were so into this tenting with funk, and so when you add funk, you're adding the kind of humanity to the music, so that you have the structure that's hard, like the chords and the notes, and then the rhythm, and then you say, well, how can we add this humanity to it? And that's where the funk, is making it a little bit more, accessible to people, instead of just like a harsh, music theory breakdown of this is a chord, this is a melodic line that's going on top of the chord. The funk factor can be something like a subtle impact, a subtle accent into things. So anyways, this is the thought on song structure and the noticing of this very, very similar pattern. And the first artist that I recollect when I think of this is actually Neil Young. And I don't really study him in depth, but I think of him when I think of this beat. And but the beat exists in many kinds of 70s, 80s songwriter music. Like it's in Fleetwood Mac to Emerson Lake Palmer to all these different kinds of artists of that era. And it's not rock, but the beat itself can serve as the verse, which can lead into a rock piece. And I'm noticing this only because I'm listening to this station called Crossroads, and it's pushing it out that it's blatantly obvious that there's this thing that's occurring. It's like a motif, the studying of this motif on a certain style of songwriter initiative, songwriter motif, songwriter what origin, what is this this shape that's occurring, and then the shape will lead you to sing a certain way. It will lead you to write the full song a certain way. So that's just another thought on like music theory and how these shapes of like these core little pieces, these little small encapsulations, can blossom out to a much larger, like even a genre. You could call it a genre, but it crosses genres too because of the it's so pliable with what can be done with the various directions of that style. So it's interesting though. It must be some like basic disruption that occurs in the music making process, and like the battery low message I just got. But it must be something that like disrupts your mind. And anything that disrupts your mind in a very subtle way or tricky way or mathematical way musically is a good way to hook the mind into thinking that it's like it's got substance. So that's why hooks, they always have like something that's a little tricky, it's a little off key, it's a little off the beat, it's a little unexpected, or it is expected, but it's something that will tell the mind, hey, pay attention. So anyways, just a thought on these little encapsulations where people derive songs. Where do they come from? Places like that, these shuffling concepts, and how many other kinds of songs can you develop from different origins of those different structures? Because in my personal creative process is nothing like that. I generally am thinking of a theme that's based on emotions that I have had over an experience, and then I'm developing either lyrics from that and then fleshing out other things from that. But usually that's what's occurring, but sometimes the melody and the lyric will come simultaneously. And so what I'm saying is I don't have a natural process that I would go and I would take this shuffling beat and the bass and then apply the melodic context on top of that, the way so many of these composers, these songwriters did in certain eras.